In today's video, we check in on my guppies, which are quickly outgrowing their small 5-gallon aquariums, and we set up a new 20-gallon fish tank on my kitchen counter. Hello and welcome to Tank Tales, a beginner's guide to aquariums, aquaponics, and fish tank fun. Please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button so you're notified each and every time I publish a new video. In last week's episode of Tank Tales, I went about the process of sexing my guppy fry and moving the males and females into two separate 5-gallon aquariums, the males in one tank and the females in the other. These small 5-gallon tanks were only meant to be a short-term solution to separating my guppy fry, so they didn't start having sex with their brothers and sisters. But now that the fish have pretty much reached adulthood, these 5-gallon tanks are way too small, and my guppies will soon be needing a much larger and more permanent home. Before I deal with my guppies, however, I want to set up the new 20-gallon aquarium I purchased on Facebook Marketplace. I started my Tank Tales hobby with a 10-gallon fish tank, which is a common tank size for many individuals getting started with the responsibilities of fish ownership. But now that several months have passed, and now that I have a bit more room inside my new home, I thought it would be nice for me, and healthy for my fish, if their tank size was dramatically increased. So when I saw a 20-gallon fish tank that was practically being given away for only $10 on Facebook Marketplace in the next city over, I jumped in my car and drove over to get it right away. Upon returning home with my new 20-gallon aquarium, I immediately went to work on cleaning the big thing out. After the tank was relatively clean, I poured a 20-pound bag of white fish tank sand into the bottom of the aquarium. My goal at this point was to get rid of the two 10-gallon tanks I had on my kitchen counter and combine the two tanks into this new 20-gallon long aquarium, thereby allowing my adult fish to swim amongst live aquatic plants. The first thing I did was scoop out my adult fish and put them in a large metal pot. Then I drained out most of the water from the 10-gallon aquarium that had been their home for the past several months. Then I started adding some decorations to my new 20-gallon fish tank. I placed the fake rock bridge in the tank first, and followed it with a real rock I found on a hillside in my local neighborhood. Then I grabbed the first of the many live plants in my live plant aquarium and cleaned it off. After months of neglect, pretty much all of my live plants were covered in a thick layer of moss or algae. So after this grungy gunk had been cleaned off, I placed the plant in its new 20-gallon home. After the first plant had been positioned, I went about repeating this process with the rest of my live plants. First removing the plants from their old 10-gallon aquarium, then cleaning the plant of any moss or algae and removing any dead leaves or limbs, and then placing the remaining plant in the new 20-gallon glass enclosure. This process took more than an hour to complete with all of my live plants. Sadly, not all of the live plants were able to be transferred to the new tank. Some of the plants were so brown and dead they had to be discarded entirely. But a surprising number of the plants were still in good shape, and those were the ones that ultimately got transferred to the new 20-gallon aquarium. While some plants simply turn brown and die when they aren't getting the nutrients they need to survive, Java fern are unique in that when they're under distress, they start to shoot out little baby Java ferns from their leaves. And these baby Java ferns are then easily picked off the leaves and can be used to grow healthy new Java fern plants, totally independent from their parents. And because my Java fern had been neglected for so long, there were now more than a dozen little Java fern babies growing out of its leaves. So I spent a few minutes picking the baby Java ferns off of the adult Java fern leaves, and then I super glued a few of the babies to small round rocks, which I then positioned together in a cluster inside my new 20-gallon aquarium. My hope was that some of these baby Java fern would not only survive, but would thrive in their new home and eventually grow to become adult Java fern as big and green and beautiful as their parents had once been. After all of my live plants had been successfully transferred to their new home and positioned in the sand and rocks at the bottom of the aquarium, I slowly went about filling up the large 20-gallon fish tank with water. I didn't yet have a lid for this new 20-gallon aquarium, so I purposely left the water level low, knowing that some of my fish might have the potential to jump out of the aquarium if they were given the opportunity. After letting the water cycle through the filter for a while, I placed my adult fish in small Ziploc bags filled with water and floated them in the 20-gallon aquarium that was soon to become their new home, so as to slowly acclimate the fish to the water temperature inside the tank. After more than 30 minutes had passed, I opened up each of the Ziploc bags and released my fish into their new aquarium. The catfish did what they normally do and swam straight toward the bottom of the tank, taking shelter under the fake rock bridge and then eventually wandering out to explore the rest of their new surroundings once they had become a bit more comfortable. On the opposite end of the water column were my 2 golden wonder killifish, who as usual took refuge at the top of the tank, while occasionally diving lower and, in rare instances, were spotted interacting with the new live plants inside their now vastly larger underwater home. I wondered if my fish might try and eat the plants they were now sharing their tank with, but that never really happened. There were a few nibbles on some of the plants and leaves at the beginning, but after just a few hours in their new home, the fish almost completely ignored the fact that they were now sharing their tank with live aquatic plants. After moving my live plants and adult fish into the new 20-gallon aquarium, everything seemed to return to normal. My guppies were quickly growing larger and had reached almost adult sizes. There were now 5 male guppies and 5 female guppies. The other 8 guppy fry that had originally been born with these small fish had all perished, but 10 out of 18 is pretty good numbers for my first batch of guppy fry, if you ask me. Sadly, tragedy seems to be a regular part of owning fish. Just a few days after my 20-gallon fish tank conversion, I noticed that the smaller of my 2 golden wonder killifish was missing from its tank. I looked all over the aquarium and couldn't find him. If he wasn't swimming at the top of the water column or at the side of his other, much larger golden wonder killifish sidekick, where could he be? I checked the tank over and over again and couldn't find him anywhere. And then I spotted him in the middle of my kitchen floor. He had somehow jumped out of the aquarium, up and over the edge of the tank, and rolled more than 10 feet across the floor of my home, where I had, unbeknownst to me, at some point during my day, stepped on him. The problem was obvious. My new 20-gallon fish tank didn't have a lid, and even though I had purposely lowered the level of the water inside the tank so as to try and prevent a tragedy such as this, I had obviously underestimated the jumping powers of my golden wonder killifish. In next week's episode, I build a lid for my new 20-gallon fish tank, but a new problem arises inside the Tank Tails aquarium, and one of my fish loses his tail. And now it's time for the Tank Tails question of the week. Have you ever had a fish completely jump out of its aquarium? Did you see the fish do it and catch him in time? Or did your fish perish in a similar fashion as my little golden wonder killifish? Leave a comment down below and tell me a story about your fish jumping for freedom. Did you enjoy this video? I hope you did, and I can't wait for you to see next week's episode. So if you haven't done so already, be sure to smash that subscribe button and the bell icon now so you get notified each and every time I publish a new video. Also, don't forget to hit the like button. That really does a lot to help me out, and I appreciate your support very much. Once again, thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you'll subscribe to my Tank Tails channel, as I plan on adding new videos like this one on a regular basis, and your support will help to ensure that I can make more videos like this one in the future.